Great skills again by him.
Hello everybody, good evening. The 20th of October, and we finally have a new head coach. Whether he's the right man for the job, we'll never know, but Danny Röhl is what to pronounce it, not Danny Röhl. Danny Röhl is the new head coach of Rangers Football Club. Announced today after Martin. He's a 36-year-old German, and we're only the second club that he's ever managed. So guys, we're looking for your contribution, we're looking for your comments as well. I'm joined by a lovely panel here, and I'll just get, last but not least, there, late to the show. Typical fashion. Rebecca, I'll come to you first, so you're in there. How you getting on?
Yeah, I'm probably one of the more positive people with this announcement, but yeah, how are we all?
I think we're a wee bit happier there. Doug, I'll come round, I'll go clockwise as we always do, mate, in true Rangers Journal fashion. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Glad the saga is over. I think it's the first feeling, just relief that that's done. But also positive. I've always been a fan of Röhl potentially coming in. So
yeah, we'll come to Ross first of all, bottom right hand corner, not Ross with the S. Ross with the S. I'll come to you in a wee second, mate, because I know you're short on time, pal. I know you've got a table book. So, Ross, Harrogate Loyal, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Ryan. I'm good. Good to see you all. Yeah, look, first thoughts on this appointment is it's very mixed, I guess. Like, so they knew they had someone lined up, and it keeps people reasonably happy and quiet moving into a busy period of games. Or is it a case that this guy has impressed and we're all jumping the gun a bit because of the saga that's unravelled over the past few weeks? We'll dig into it, I'm sure, but good to be here to talk it through with you all.
Brilliant. Listen, before you go into parties there, you'll notice we've got quite a large panel here that wants to talk about a big day in the history of the club. But tell us your initial reactions, get it off your chest, mate. What's your thought process? Obviously, you were very much in the Muscat Loyal. What's your kind of thoughts on it?
I think at this moment in time, I'm just a little bit glad that it's over with. It's been an absolute fiasco from start to finish, if we're being brutally honest. Yeah, I think that the most important thing at this stage was just having somebody in, whether it was interim, whether it was long term. The fact that we were kind of left in the dark. Seemingly every weekend there was a new name that was almost becoming, the name that was being put out there. So now that we've got somebody, I think we need to just focus on supporting him and moving onwards. And we're aware that there's bigger problems, at Rangers, people higher up at this moment in time. Danny Röhl's the guy that they chose, and he's going to. I think that he will get the support of the the fans. So we just need to move on from that.
Sure, mate. Sure. Well, listen, before you head off, I'm the Rangers genie, and I'm going to grant you 2 wishes there for Danny Röhl. What are the 2 things that you would like to change? What's the immediate actions that he must take, other than obviously winning football games? What are the 2 things that you think he should immediately do on arrival to the club?
I mean, the first thing is that you need to have actually evidence of improving the team, which I think was one of the biggest critics of him, is that the team didn't look to be improving. So I think they need to see improvements on the park immediately. And I think at this moment in time, I know you said that the obvious one is winning games. We need to win games. It's as simple as that. Come hell or high water, that's the most the most important thing for everybody at Rangers at the moment is that we've just not won enough games in our season by by the time the clocks have went back the way. Excuse me. That it's been a total write-off again. So we just need to try and get some sort of consistency back. And I think we've got a bit of belief there that he could bring it. I think there just needs to be a change. And I think that now that the toxicity levels of Russell Martin is away from the training ground, I think the players have got the opportunity to focus on that. And whilst the fans will obviously have a go at the kind of bigger picture, I'd like to think that won't project itself onto the field.
Brilliant, mate. Well, listen, anything just before you head off, pal, I don't want to hold you back, get you into any bother.
Not at all, not at all. Like, we've got a table booked, we need to go, and I'm like, we've got a new manager. This is important.
Oh, listen, absolutely. Yes. Remember, I've always said jobs will come and go, girlfriends will come and go, wives will come and go, but they'll always be Rangers, mate.
Yeah, you just heard that, so I'm now going to go and get my back kicked. So thanks for that, Ryan.
Right, enjoy your black eye. See you later.
Cheers, guys. The best.
See you.
Cheers, mate. Dino, you keeping well, pal? Thanks for joining, mate. Have we lost Dino? We'll get back to him in a wee second.
I think he's trying to unmute.
You there, Dino?
I don't think Dino's having a good time.
So, no. He's typing in on us there. Doug, right, okay. Give me your Rangers genie wishes. Give me two. Where are you for that, mate?
Two things. Well, I can think of two people we could get rid of that would fill each wish. But I'll be a bit more constructive than that, I think. First and foremost, we need to get back to winning ways. So that's wish number one. Just win football matches. It's just utterly bizarre to be this far into this season and only have one win in the league. So that's wish number one. Get back to winning ways. And then after that, it's, I think, just getting the team organised, seeing a bit of belief from them. Let's say more organisation, like they have a plan. I've read a lot about Röhl. Is very adaptable. He will change things up based on opposition, but also that he's got pragmatism in terms of looking at the group of players he has and going, okay, what can I do to get the best out of this specific group of players? So I think for me that's also a key point and key things that our previous manager doesn't miss. A lot of people are drawing parallels or seeming parallels between Röhl and Martin. But for me, that's something that he did at Wednesday. He went in, he sort of talked about a certain type of football, but then actually ended up playing differently because the players he had didn't suit what he initially talked about. And that, I think, is a massive thing that Russell Martin did not do. And so those would be my two wishes: is back to winning ways and a manager that will actually adapt to the situation that he's in.
Brilliant. Ross, hit me.
With the two wishes?
Yes, please, mate. Go for it. Two immediate actions, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, sure. I was trying to think about a few there. I think there's a long list, very, very long list. But in terms of a short list of two, I think the first one would be try and look at things through the fans' eyes. For the past period of time, we've had managers that have come in that are trying to implement something that we know doesn't work, and we know, having been there for countless years, for decades, just isn't working, and it doesn't resonate with the fans. Rangers are at the best when they're attacking, they're free-flowing, they're committing men forward, and they're fighting till the very end. And I think we just haven't seen that for long enough. So the first one would be to think through the fans, try and look through the fans' eyes and try and understand exactly what we've been through and where we need to get to. And the second one would be, don't see yourself as a head coach. And I know that probably goes against massively what Thelwell and Stewart and those people are trying to do. I'm sure we'll come on to those later on. But see yourself as the manager of this club. See yourself as the custodian. See yourself as someone that is having the baton passed to. Go in and look at the pictures of those that have been before you and their footsteps that have walked up those marble staircase, and get a sense, get a feel of what it is to be the manager of this amazing club. Go and speak to people. Go and speak to opponents. Go and speak to people who have played against the club and get a feel for not just a club that has wins, draws, and losses on a piece of paper, but a club that is steeped in tradition, history, and ultimately a love affair with those fans that support it, and get it under your skin quickly, because that'll help you in your kind of understanding of and the weight that job carries. Those would be my two.
Brilliant. Rebecca, go for it. Give me your two.
First of all, I wish that he wears a suit. That needs to happen. He needs to come out in a suit. My second wish would be, you said apart from winning football games, but that's just a given. That just needs to happen. I agree with what Doug and Ross have said entirely, but he needs to wear a suit. If he wears a suit, I think the fan base are going to be like, right, okay, he's trying here. If he starts winning football games, then, that's what we all need and that's what we all want. So, yeah, that's my two wishes. Get behind him.
Sorry, forgive me, I was struggling with mute there. Dino, are you with us?
Aye.
Is your Russian satellite came round? Thank you. Welcome to the show, mate. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm looking for your initial reaction when Danny Röhl, as we've been told to pronounce it, when Danny Röhl was announced as Rangers manager. Your initial kind of, how did you feel? I'll be honest, I was neither here nor there with it. It didn't get me up, it didn't get me down, with that kind of side of things. I didn't punch the air, I didn't swear like I did with Russell Martin. What was your initial reaction, mate? And give me two immediate actions that he has to do. Saying he walks in tomorrow morning, he walks into Auchenhowie, what are the two things that he has to install?
My initial reaction was just sheer relief that we've now got somebody appointed, because it's been just dragged on and on and on for far too long for a elite professional football club. We've been, ran like we're a semi-pro club, as I keep saying. So having that, having the person appointed is just relief more than anything, to actually have somebody in to then start taking charge of things and let Stevie Smith go back to his duties as under-19s manager. My first wish, I'll be honest with you, is to get the team performing for 90 minutes and not just 45. That's been one of my biggest bugbears of the season, is when we've been, even under Martin, we were a second half team, and that game on Saturday, we turned up for the first 45 minutes, but were null and void the next 45 minutes. So I want to see him bringing that into the players' mentality, that it doesn't stop at half time, or you can't just turn up at half time. You need to run for the 90 minutes. And my second wish is having a former player or somebody linked to the club who bleeds blue like us and his backroom staff. I want that connection between him and the club and the fans constantly. I think in order for us to pick up the pieces for the mess that's been left, we need to have somebody in his backroom staff who is going to be in his ear every day, telling him exactly what needs to be done in terms of getting the fans on board, getting credit in the bank with the fans, and having a relationship with the fans. He's got a relatively good pedigree. He's, assistant head coach Bayern Munich, assistant head coach for the German national team. So obviously Germany's a nation that expects to win. Bayern Munich are a club that expects to win. So working under those circumstances, he'll have a fair idea of what is required at Rangers. But I do think it is very important for him to have a former player or just a former link to our club, to let him know exactly what's required, like what Gary Mack was for Steven Gerrard, although he never played for Rangers, but Gary Mack was, I guess, that sort of link between us and Gerrard, for Gerrard initially. That's the kind of thing I'm wanting.
Brilliant. Doug, just coming on to that, mate, there's early links that Lee Wallace, former captain, has been linked to come onto the coaching staff, as well as Stephen Davis. Are they two names that get you excited? Are these the kind of right people that we should be bringing in? Is there anyone else you've got in mind?
Yeah, I mean, both players, I think, that are fondly remembered. Davis obviously recently at the club, Wallace a little bit longer ago. In particular, him, he's obviously a former captain, and a player that stuck with Rangers down the leagues as well, which gained him a huge amount of respect from a lot of the fan base. I know he's been coaching at Hearts in their youth setup, so he's obviously still in and about the game. I think we will see. I think Dino will get that wish, because he did that at Wednesday. He brought in, I can't remember what the name was. It was someone that I knew, but he brought in that kind of local knowledge, someone that knew the league that he was in. So I do think we'll probably see that. As to who it is, obviously not so sure. Those, like you say, those names have been floated. I think there's plenty of people about. Obviously, there was talk of McCann under Muscat. He could still come in. Obviously, managerial experience there. So I think there's plenty of folk out there that have got experience, that have got that knowledge, and that can help them have that extra bit of connection. So I've said it in the past as well. I think it's a good thing to do, and like I say, I think we will see that, given what he did at Wednesday.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you, Ross. Just before I come to you on the kind of same question there, I just want to say thanks to Kenny and the team out in the Porta del Carmen in Lanzarote for sponsoring the pod. You'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner that we've got Bluebells Bar as our new proud sponsor. So if anyone's out there on their holidays and they're looking for a bar to go and watch the Rangers game or any game of football in that fact, Kenny and the team will certainly look after you, and I believe that he actually also has a wee bit of home brew and tenants on the tap. So if you're choking for a pint of vitamin T, you know where to go when you're in Lanzarote. All right. Ross, is Stephen Davis and Lee Wallace for you, mate? There's other guys kicking about. Somebody's mentioned the comment here about keeping Stephen Smith close to him. Is that someone as well for you?
Yeah, look, I think I respect Lee Wallace massively. I don't know what he's done from a coaching point of view, but respect him massively for the points that Doug made earlier. Sticking with us when we went down, was a great captain for us, really unsung hero. And I always remember his celebration when he didn't sign the contract and he was wagging his finger saying he's not going to sign the contract when he scored to leave elsewhere. And yeah, I think he'd be good to have in the door. Steve Davis, absolute legend as a Northern Irishman. He is an icon of mine. So I've always loved Stevie D, and he'd be brilliant to have in the door. I think it's no secret his love for the club. No secret for the fact that he would love to be back in through the door and impart some of the wisdom. And look, if we can get any of the guys that we've got in currently playing to the level of or near the level of Stephen Davis, then we'll have a hell of a team. So yeah, I think they'd both be good additions to come in. My only, I guess, kind of caveat on that would be maybe we look at someone who has been around coaching a little longer. So I know that McCann was being mentioned with Muscat. I think someone like that would be a wise choice. Someone that's got a bit of a wiser head. Maybe even someone around the age of like Alex Ray, or around that level of sort of experience and exposure in the league. I think it'd be really helpful. Danny Röhl is obviously 36 years old, as you mentioned. He's quite a young guy. He could do with probably having a wise head on top of his shoulders sat next to him, just giving him that guidance, that advice. Obviously, when Walter was at Rangers, he had Archie Knox as well, who was of a similar age and well experienced in that assistant coaching role. It is quite a niche role, and not all assistant managers become managers, but likewise, not all managers can become assistant managers. There is a certain skill set needed for that. So I think someone with a wise head on the shoulders just to help him and guide him, but with a Rangers background would be a nice sweet spot there.
Yeah. Beck, I'm just going to come at you on this one, and just me being playing devil's advocate and trying to cover all bases here. Is there a risk of getting a former Rangers man in with your team? And we've seen with something like Michael Beale, obviously was allegedly the brains behind the Gerrard operation and came back and got the job. You've seen that he was in the stand when Van Bronckhorst was under pressure. Have you got to watch your back when you get former guys in, that they're not just trying to nick your job off you, that they're not, going round your players and having, saying things bad about you, that they're two-faced in that respect? You've got to have a lot of trust in them.
Totally.
If he doesn't know them.
You do need to have trust, right? But I think we're crying out for Rangers men to be in our team, in our coaching team, staff. I think that it's probably a good thing. And I don't think that anybody, he is our new head coach. That's something that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to need to get behind. But to get some good Rangers men who know the club inside and out, who might have played for the club, that's what we need. And I think that's probably what's going to help, Danny on his journey. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. I honestly, we don't know what's around the corner with Rangers. We just don't know what they're going to hit us with next. But no, I think getting Rangers men behind us would be brilliant.
Brilliant. But you want to head off, Pat? I think you put your
I'm
message
going to head off.
Listen, thanks for coming on. All right.
No, enjoy us later. Bye.
Catch you later on. See you later on. We're going to come to you next. Is it realistically the board to ask Danny Röhl to win this league? Can't hear us. Okay, mate. I think you're struggling with your sound. Doug, I'll come to you, mate, on the same question there. When Danny Röhl was being interviewed, is it a realistic expectation, a realistic target for the Rangers board to ask him to win this league? Or do you think that's something that's maybe not out with his capabilities, but something that's maybe just too far gone at this stage?
I think it's obviously a challenge, given the amount of points that we've dropped thus far, but they should be telling him to give it his absolute best attempt, though. I think like I say, coming in, given the issues we've had and the trouble that he's going to have to kind of help try and turn around, I don't think it's unrealistic that we should give him the time and not be necessarily horrendously disappointed if he doesn't win the league this season. But that should still be the goal, to try and do it. You know, unless it's mathematically impossible, that should always be the goal, to try. And I mean, we saw yesterday. You know, it's not a foregone conclusion that Celtic are going to, you know, win this league. You know, they've dropped points against Dundee. You know, making our draw all the more annoying. But you know, I think they'll continue to drop points because they're not in a great place either. If anything, you know, right now Hearts look like the favourites for the league. So, if conventional wisdom turns out to be true, then you know they'll likely drop off at some point later in the season. And so, if that happens, you know, it's not impossible. So it should be the goal, or it should be the goal to try and to still give it our best chance. But I think if we're being totally realistic, you know, you want them to have a decent fist at Europe, and then I think, you know, really go for those domestic trophies in terms of the cups, because they represent very much winnable goals. So if he can come out the end of this season having, you know, a decent fist at Europe, having given a good try in the league and winning one or two trophies, then you'll have done very well.
Brilliant. Do you know how you get on?
All right. So I'm just going to say, son, I think on the Sheffield Wednesday coach, I think it was Chris Powell that he brought in from, if memory serves me right, and listening to Maurice Ross on co-coms, that's somebody I want in. Like, everything he says, I just find him very endearing to listen to. I genuinely think that he would be a great appointment in the backroom staff. I don't know if any of you guys have listened to him, but he's been on a good few times, and I just think in terms of a tactical point of view, he's absolutely immaculate, and from the point of view of him knowing what it takes to play for Rangers, part of the squad that won the last treble as well, so bleeds blue like the rest of us. So that's somebody who I would definitely have in, and I know that's probably gone a wee bit off on what we were just discussing there, but that was where I'm kind of like hoping that there's going to be somebody coming in, just because people have said they're not maybe too keen on Davis or Wallace or things like that. And I think that Maurice Ross has got the personality to come in and be quite a commanding presence. Just the way that he speaks, I've just got that impression from him. I don't know what you guys think.
No, it's a fair shout. I mean, I think everyone's got the right to throw their hands in their hat into the ring with this. You know, you see it's just the polar. This kind of sums up almost us as a fan base. Sorry, is that we're, you know, it's a decent shout from one guy, but apparently Maurice Ross is a weapon on the other hand. So you'll never keep everybody happy at this moment in time. And I was just asking Doug there before you dropped off with your audio, mate. What are realistic expectations that we're going to be asking Danny Röhl here? I'd mentioned that, is it too much to ask for him to win the league? We are only 8 out of 38, as I think Ali had said there. Are we going to put too much pressure on him, asking him to deliver the trophy? Where are you as far as expectations are?
If I'm Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, I'm telling him, look, just get this team competing, get this team winning. Don't have us being second best to every other team in the league. Compete for the cups, compete for every competition. Just go out and do your best. There's no expectations on the League Cup, the League and Europa League, but the Scottish Cup, we want you to go and win it. And Scottish Cup is obviously a competition that ends towards the end of the season, so there's a little bit more time for him to have gotten his ideas across and us playing how he wants to play. And obviously with January coming in, signing players that are going to be accustomed to his style and whatnot, but I wouldn't put any expectations on him, and because at the end of the day he's going to have the expectations from the fans anyway. But in terms of from a board point of view, don't put any expectations on him to win the league and stuff. As Doug said, Celtic look like they're going to drop more points. Hearts have never been in this position really since George Burley was there 20 years ago. So they've not really got experience in that club of being able to mount a title challenge and sustain it. And that's going to perhaps come into play next year. But as it currently stands, we just need to take one game at a time and try and build some sort of momentum, get the players playing for the jersey, as I say, turning up for 90 minutes instead of 45. Wee things like that will go a long way from turning these draws into wins. If we're going and we're winning a game 1-0 and 2-1 and things like that, and the players are leaving nothing on the pitch after the 95th minute, we can all say this is progress. Danny Doe's got an impossible job on his hands, absolute impossible job. And something, by going and listening to Sheffield Wednesday people, you had an impossible task going in there. It's completely different calibre, but 1 point after 12 games or something for them, and he turned it around. So I just think it's something that we just need to give him a wee bit more time. And I know as Rangers fans were very fickle in terms of giving people time, but I think we can just obviously, winning the Scottish Cup has to be a minimum, and that's going to be where I'm at with things.
No problem at all. Thanks, pal. Ross, I'm just going to come to you this. I brought Danny Röhl's effectively CV, almost these kind of managerial stats here. And I can't get David Ancelotti out of my head when I look at something like this. And obviously we were kind of led to believe that he was pretty close to becoming the Rangers manager, or the Rangers head coach, sorry. Is there anything you're kind of pulling off of this CV that you think would inspire you? Is this, if you were in the head of recruitment, if you were actually looking for someone, is this the type of guy you'd have went for?
Well, yeah, I think the only thing that's lacking is a head coach or kind of manager or in the hot seat, whatever you want to call it, at a big club. Sheffield Wednesday are faced an uphill battle, and I think it was just get them playing any way they can to stay up. That's the pragmatism coming through that he showed, and you hear from a lot of the Chef Wed fans that he did show a level of pragmatism when it was just keep them up by any means necessary, and they actually ended up fairly comfortably staying up. But yeah, I think having him at an actual big club that's challenged to win consistently as the head coach. But look, Gerrard came in and was the same. He hadn't had that experience. He had youth level experience, but his I guess the proof from his career was as a footballer, as an actual player. Danny Röhl's got a different CV and a different way to getting to the hot seat at Ibrox, but that doesn't mean it's not necessarily a credible one in its own way. I think having experience with a club like Bayern Munich, they are huge. They sell the most amount of football shirts for any club in the world. They are so big, not just in Germany but globally. So getting anyone in from that coaching team can only be a positive thing. And then the national team as well, surrounded by star players, and having to manage those egos. I think there was one thing that I saw when I was reading through some notes that the Sheffield Wednesday fan had prepared that said that it was his management of big egos and big players and stars that was maybe something that needed to be worked on and adapted. Maybe that's where an assistant manager comes in and plays that role, and he kind of keeps that more of a sort of a head coach vibe. But there's nothing there that worries me. I think that it within being a head coach, my gripe is around the concept of a head coach and a sporting director. I think it works in certain environments for certain types of clubs. When I think of like an Ajax, or I think of like a few like Dutch and sort of German teams, maybe it would be the right way to do it because they have a sporting direction, and that wants to be cascaded the whole way through and funneled down from youth football right through. But it's a different bag here, and I think I hope I'm not right, but I just worry that in 3 or 4 months' time we're going to be saying a very similar thing. Like either the guy was fed players a la Chamiti and getting rid of quality that we've probably already had, and then also like that they would be players that he hadn't chosen, and he's forced to do something with it. And we might be saying, well, he's a talented manager, he's trying to get the best out of them, but he's being fed things that aren't his choice and aren't his wouldn't have been on his list. So I think we may well come back to that. But in terms of a CV, like, yeah, it looks really strong. Like I said, another only worry is why has no one else picked up on him? He's been out of a job from for a while now. Why has no one else come in for him if he's so good? But
Yeah,
look, time will tell. It's a clean slate. Get the guy in. Let's see what he can do, and we'll all back him for sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing, is that we've got to back what's in front of us. You know, as much as Russell Martin was a rubbish appointment right back in June, but we still had to get behind it as Rangers fans. That's our responsibility. You know, sure. As Blue Noses, is to get behind the guy that's in the chair for a certain amount of time and at least give him a chance. But there's lots of people saying that, you know, there's a comment here saying it's abominable, but we've got to give the guy at least a chance to see where he is. But Billy, before I welcome you in, mate, I'm just going to reiterate what Gordon's saying here. Please like and subscribe. We've got over 700 people watching us at the moment, and the vast majority are watching us on Twitter, but we'd appreciate it if you could jump over to YouTube, if you wouldn't mind. Just search for the Rangers Journal. We are 16 subscriptions away for 4,500 tonight. It'd be wonderful if we could welcome our new head coach in with getting ourselves to a wee milestone tonight as well. But Billy, coming to you, mate, your initial reaction, did you punch the air? Did you use bad language? You know, and also I'm asking everyone that's coming on to the pod tonight to give me 2 wishes, 2 kind of immediate actions you would like Danny Röhl to take upon arrival at Auchenhowie tomorrow for his first training session.
Mate, well, you said in our group chat to come on if we could. I do have basically 5 minutes to come on, but I've got the kids to myself this evening, so I'm afraid that's what I'm having to go rush back to as tea time after all. As regards punching, yes, I certainly was punching the air, but an imaginary faces of 2 certain employees of the club, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'll add anything succinct, especially not as nice as what Ross was saying there. I'm just deflated, mate, and I know you're saying we need to get behind the manager, and I guess you're right. But right now, I just feel like I don't know. You maybe asked your mum and dad for a couple of presents, and they never got you the 2 that you really wanted, and you end up getting a toy train or something. It's not Röhl's fault. I think in the summertime, and I'm sure someone else will have brought this up already, I'm sure in the summertime he would have been a more suitable candidate, but right now we're in such a mess that I do worry that we're making a kind of similar mistake to Russell Martin, and we'll be we might be ready to appoint Muscat when he's ready to come in 2 months' time, because you know it could get even worse for us. That's my worry. At the back of my mind, though, I've got to hope that he comes in and gives some fresh ideas to the squad. But he just seems, anything I read about him, and I know Doug's prepared things, I still just feel he's just in the mould of Russell Martin. And Ross mentions Ancelotti as well. I agree with that. It feels very much like clutching at straws now for Thelwell and Stewart, and we had to get someone in, and this is the fallback plan. And I mean, how as well the guy at Röhl can. I don't know. Shona was just saying in the comments there that he's done his first interview. Is there not a normal press conference for these kind of things when new managers come to Rangers and we get to question them, or is it just too much of embarrassment from the club to put him in front of the press corps who's going to say to him, you weren't the first choice, you weren't the second choice, you might not even have been the third choice, because we interviewed other people as well. You walked away from this a week ago, and now you're here holding the shirt up and all smiles. How can you? I don't know. How can you change them? How can you, for self-respect, how can you come and take this job now at this point? And I'd like to see his answer to that. Sorry if that's a wee bit of a rant.
No, but listen, I think the whole thing was with Russell Martin. He was asked the question day one, you do realise you weren't fancied for this? And I think probably the Rangers PR guys and the Rangers media guys probably realise that they don't want to put him in. I've noticed they've been quite coy with their photographs as well. That all the photographs have been in the kind of upper part of his body, not actually even seen what he got on his feet. Russell Martin obviously took a lot of criticism for showing up in his first day with a pair of black trainers on. So it's a difficult one. Dino, I'll come to you, mate. You seem to be in and out this podcast more than Danny Röhl's been in and out this Rangers managers running. So I want to just ask you, mate, there's a risk here with this and it doesn't go right. How important is it that we get this succession plan started now? I think one of the things that we've been too slow probably in getting Röhl should have been in position for Saturday, the Dundee United game. How is it important as we get this started now, start thinking about somebody else? One, in case this goes really wrong, which a lot of people do think it will, but also the fact that this could actually go really right for Danny Röhl and he might move on.
Aye, there's need to learn from the mistakes and have a contingency planning from day one. And I think that there's a massive element of doubt that is obviously on the people that are in charge of rectifying these mistakes, should I say. So there's not really, you don't have much hope or optimism that is going to be the case, that we're going to be run properly like the football club should be run. So massive onus and even more pressure on those making those decisions, because if, as you said, if the miraculous does happen and he does go on to have a good 2.5, 3 years, he's going to be getting clubs from down south and whatnot wanting to employ him, and we then have to be in a position where we have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and I really can't see that being a possibility. But stranger things have happened, and to be fair, maybe in 2.5, 3 years' time, Farewell and Stewart, hopefully, but very possibly, might not even be in the position making those decisions and putting a contingency plan in place. So it might be people who are competent in those roles, and we do have a plan A, B, C and D.
Brilliant. Billy, just before you head off, mate,
Mhm.
my idea for succession plan and my idea is that you should always look to promote from within. Now, we've seen it done with various degrees, other clubs around the world. Probably Guardiola is probably the best example. He was the manager of Barcelona B before he became the manager of the Barcelona A team. And we've done it ourselves in the past with, obviously, Walter Smith replacing Graham Souness when Graham Souness left us unexpectedly, and Ali McCoist took over the reins when Walter Smith retired. Is that a succession plan? Is that an easy succession plan? Is that just too obvious for us?
I mean, Guardiola's kind of one of a kind when it comes to that, isn't it? It's not really something we can kind of guarantee that we're going to bring through a manager as good as maybe a successful Rangers manager. I mean, I like Stevie Smith, but to me, he doesn't seem to command that kind of dignitas that you think a Rangers manager should have. I know he was talking about having ambitions, but it's really on the people above them to make sure that the folk in these roles aren't just there to put the cones out. They're actually there because they're, in the planning to come through. But I mean, the succession planning with us has been a nightmare, Ryan, because we go back to Nathan Patterson on Billy Gilmore, and these are years ago, and we've not really brought through anybody in the playing staff. So why would we think that the managerial staff's going to be any better? I guess you look at likes of Kevin Thompson, who I do like. I don't think he's currently even there at the moment. Maybe somebody can correct me, but he's someone I think that would command more respect. But there's not enough people in these positions, and maybe it's a case of you don't want someone challenging you, someone that's that's got those qualities in the lower positions. I don't know if it falls on the manager to appoint these people. So it may be just coming from the directors, or even Thelwell at the moment. I think I probably believe it is. But you need to pick guys that have got that kind of personality that will, be able to be a Walter Smith, even be an Alex McLeish, be a Graham Souness. But you need to find those people and then put them in the position, rather than just promoting guys for the sake of, oh, they were there, they were doing the job, under 19s or whatever. So that's what I would say on that. I don't think we've got people in these positions that would naturally kind of come through, and I don't think we had for a while.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that's probably where I look at guys like Kevin Thelwell, Patrick Stewart, where what are they doing on a kind of day-to-day basis that they're not making these things happen in the background? That, it's any decent person that's within this. This is their job. This is their daily job, to make sure that we're running as effectively as possibly can. That we are the big blue machine from Govan, and so not having succession plans in place. And you look at the fact we've got, somebody mentioned in the comments, say we've got an 18-year-old playing at left back and loan from Brentford. That's not succession planning for me. That's not good enough. That's taking a young boy and just throwing him in at the deep end and hoping it works. And nothing against Makoma. I think he's doing okay for us. But I think it's an example of where, succession planning from a football level, it needs to be better. And that's the things. Doug, I just want to ask you a quick question, mate. Where does the blame lie if this goes wrong? Whose head's going to roll if this doesn't work out. Just obviously trying to remain positive as much as we possibly can, but obviously keeping an eye and being very, very cautious. Where does this, and everyone's already starting to point the finger already, going up the way rather than down the way. Is that where your thinking is as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's two sides to everything. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if a manager's not successful, you're looking at who appointed them and was the decision the correct one. Obviously, the immediate two are going to be Thelwell and Stewart, although you could say that it's been muddied a little bit because Kavanagh and McGrath apparently led this recruitment drive a little bit more. Although I don't know if they'll want to take credit for it after how it's gone. But I mean, many people have already said, at this point that Thelwell and Stewart's positions have already, I think, become untenable. And the utter chaos that this recruitment drive has been, I think only puts an exclamation point at the end of that sentence. The pressure was on already because not only was their first appointment poor, but it was so phenomenally poor. Like we could not have imagined it going as badly as it has. I mean, I don't think it's too far to say that that's arguably one of the worst, if not the worst, period in our history. Certainly in the modern history, anyway. As I say, everything that could go wrong just seemingly did go wrong. And we've had to get rid of a manager in record time, as you and correctly predicted, if I recall. So yeah, as I say, if this doesn't go right, then yeah, their heads are on the chopping block. Although I say that are on, I think their heads are already on the chopping block. It'll be interesting to see, if they do continue in the long term. I do think they'll be here in the short term. But it'll be interesting to see if there's any movements on that, because I mean, certainly if I'm Kavanagh, I'm sitting there going, this has been an unmitigated disaster from start to finish. We'd be seriously, thinking about their positions and whether they're the right people to take us forward. As I say, hopefully, obviously Röhl will be the guy that works out. I do think he's got, again, people trying to draw parallels between him and Martin. I think there are keys that make him different from Martin. He has experience at an elite level with an elite club that demands success. That was something that Martin never had. He's managed international football. He's also his Martin has been a manager in terms of / head coach longer. Danny Röhl has been in sort of the backroom staff for longer in terms of his career, starting at Leipzig and working his way up through that. Time at Southampton, time at Bayern, Germany, and then Sheffield Wednesday. Put him above, and I think will make him. I was going to say will make him more successful. I don't think anyone could be less successful than Russell Martin was, to be honest. So yeah, as I say, hopefully he does work out. But as I say, the two guys above him will be the ones whose heads will roll if not.
Yep. I don't think the pressures, even though there is now a managerial head coach appointment now, I think the pressure is still there, and I think that still exists, and I think that will still exist on a weekly basis. And I still think that with Thelwell and Stewart, I don't think they're there on that. Ross, there was something that I kind of wanted to bring up. I think we're focusing quite a lot on Röhl's managerial career, short managerial career, obviously his coaching experience there, but no mention about his playing career. Now, he doesn't seem to have one, but no disrespect to him. It looks as if he's kind of hovered about the lower leagues in Germany, which doesn't necessarily reflect badly as a coach there. But one thing I would say is my brief experience in football was I was basically, being honest, a big fat goalkeeper. I was never particularly great. I would say I struggled to command respect of certain people within the dressing room, particularly guys who were talented footballers and a lot fitter. It was hard for me to turn around and say, you're not doing well enough, you're not running hard enough, because they would just turn around and look at me and say, look at you. So do you think that's something that Röhl would maybe struggle with, because it's, because he doesn't have the clean, will he walk in and have respect at Tavernier? If you look at something like Gerrard, where Gerrard obviously was a captain of Liverpool, European Cup winner, captain of England, etc., by default commanded respect. Do you think Röhl would maybe struggle in the same kind of respect to have that leadership qualities?
Well, firstly, Ryan, you are perfect exactly the way you are. I hope those mean boys got what was coming to them.
They did. They're folded in the end, mate, so there you go.
Oh, well, there you go. And then, yeah, to your point, I don't think it matters here, and I completely understand, but name me, I guess, 3 top elite players that have gone on to be an elite manager, and that will tell you that there's not really a correlation between quality of player and quality of manager. It just doesn't really work that way. I think it's easy to make that credibility pitch, but as I say, that there's not really that correlation in terms of an elite player or an elite manager. So I don't think that'll do it. You look at people like Klopp, you look at people like who was it I was thinking of? Mourinho. And they've not exactly had glittering footballing careers, but they've breaking up a little bit, I guess. I'm sensing that it's not great. But yeah, I don't think there's a huge correlation there. I think for me, it's more about making the right fit for the person's personality in the club. I think that's way more important. But I would say that the sooner that Kavanagh and Murat understand what's needed from a club like Rangers, which is a statesman, it's a figurehead, it's a person to shoulder the responsibilities of the fans, of the history of the club, and of the direction we want to go to, the better. I think all of this for me comes down to poor recruitment as well, which has then led on to so many errors and cracks forming. I agree that they are on a sugary peg, and that will continue until things change. But I just hope that it isn't then it's not the right role. It's more of the actual structure of having a director of football. Because I'm just going to have a little bit of a rant, so just humor me for 1 sec. What is a director of football, and what does that do? That allows them to set the precedent, and basically anything within those lines on the pitch is down to them. They're then responsible for recruiting a manager or a coach who will tactically coach the players, and it almost protects the director of football. And my huge worry here is that if we get someone in like Röhl, who is told to play in the way that Martin's been told to play, it'll be Röhl's head that's on the block soon enough, and it protects Thelwell because he's not being held accountable for his choice in the style of play, his choice of the play. I'd love to know how much of a say he had in selling to all of our left backs and getting one left back in on loan from Brentford. I don't think, whilst I don't think Russell Martin was the right man, because I think he was just a weird guy, we're coming from a senior level, and that was taken out of his hands. And I think that's down to Thelwell and, therefore by proxy, Stewart. So for me, it's, we could well be here very soon. I hope we're not. If we start seeing these silly decisions again come January in the transfer market again, well, it would be strange for both managers to start to be making these really odd transfer decisions and odd styles of play and the same style of manager for the same outcome, or it's down to someone more senior, i.e. Thelwell, who's running and pulling the strings on the puppets below him. But anyway, thanks for that.
Problem. Take a deep breath, mate. Take a deep breath. I'm just going to cover you. Big Shug's been quite vocal in what he's been saying about the squad. That absolutely dreadful, as well as a few other more colourful comments that I'm not able to put on the screen. Do you believe that the recruitment has been that bad? I mean, I would probably reference our first half performance on Saturday. By all accounts, I thought we looked decent. I was happy. I actually stood up and clapped the team off at half time, and as I was doing it, I was like, "Oh, has done a bad job in recruiting the team or recruiting players he has done." Where are you with it? That sort of thought.
So my thoughts on that are, like you, I saw enough in the first 45 minutes to know that the players that we have can attack and can create goals and score goals. But in terms of the levels that the players that we've got, however, that lack of quality that we do have is quality enough for us to be winning football games. It's not going to be like we're spending £3.5 million or whatever on a centre half. It's apparently this is not been in the notes, just what Groton and Chermiti has left a lot to be desired. So that's the crux of 10-11 million pound or whatever, isn't it? So just that alone, if we've then put that into hypothetically, a lot of fans have in Shankland, just hypothetical, if that's the money spent on that, and then I'm just saying, if we've went and spent that money on them, that those players are better quality than what we've been subjected to thus far. But I do think that to make us playing better and winning football matches, as I said, there can't be any pressure on him with the cards he's been dealt to go out and put in a sustained title challenge and challenge on all four fronts. But the quality in the players that we have are better than the vast majority of the quality in the SPL, is the point I'm trying to make.
Probably my biggest criticism of the recruitment is the lack of goal scorers that we've signed. Obviously, Chermiti, the transfer stinks to the highest level. To be honest, it's a horrible transfer. But you look at selling Eagleman and you look at selling Dessers and not pursuing a transfer for Cherny. How many goals have we lost in our team from last season just by losing those? Is what's troubling me the most, to be honest. Doug, I just want to ask you, give me a couple of players that will be happy with a fresh start within the squad, guys that are probably maybe that been stifled, struggling for time, that maybe would look to this as a fresh start, that we'd hope for be able to give them a better representation of himself on the park for us.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think all of them will be happy to get a second chance. I thought it was quite interesting. If anyone has seen it, there was an interview with Jeff Day that came out today, and he said that he was not surprised to see Russell Martin getting sacked, which I thought was interesting. That comes from the player's perspective. He kind of hinted a little bit at the sort of the way that things might have been going in training and things like that, without really saying too much. But I thought that was interesting. Clinton team, or bummed at the squad, I should say. So he might be happy that he'll potentially get a chance to show what he can do, and fight his way back towards fighting for a first team spot. Fernandez, a new signing that's also kind of come in and very quickly disappeared. He'll probably be hoping to see if he can do more. And everyone's favourite man at the moment right now as well, Finlay Curtis, maybe will want to show his best. But to be honest, I think the entire squad, they've underperformed. We've put a lot of blame at Russell Martin, but the team has to take some of the responsibility as well. They did show an improvement in the first half against Dundee United, so hopefully that doesn't prove to be a false dawn, and that is a sign that maybe with some simpler instructions and better motivation that they can show us more. I do genuinely believe nothing like his best. Gasma's obviously came in, blazed really brightly to begin with, and then it's been a little bit quiet since. But I think we will see strength from him. Obviously, he's worked under Röhl previously, and then Ant-Man as well. I think we'll see more out of. I think he'll suit Röhl's style of attacking, winging, the way he uses his wingers a lot more. So those are kind of the main kind of ones, I think. But yeah, certainly the guys that were kind of bombed out early, I think will be quite happy to get an opportunity to try and fight their way back.
Scotty, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me on.
You're fine. So I've asked everybody that's came on what was your initial gut reaction? Did you punch there? Did you use bad language? Obviously the appointment of them. And I've also been asking guys to give wish and stuff, but I'll ask you, what are your expectations? If your expectations, or would have you been asking him to deliver the league trophy if you were interviewing him and appointing him as manager or head coach? Sorry.
In terms of my reaction to the appointment, I wasn't up or down, to be honest with you. Is he going to be worse than Russell Martin? No. Is he going to be better than Russell Martin? Aye. That's not a high bar, as it's probably the lowest bar in Rangers history. He's the worst ever Rangers manager, so let's get that straight first and foremost. He can't do any worse than he can't do any worse. I hope it works for the sake of the club. In terms of the league, now somebody needs to. That's better. Now, can we call back Celtic going on Sunday's performance and result? Aye. Can we call back Hearts? Probably. But there's a lot of things that need to happen for it to settle first. We need to get this mentality crap sorted out. This players look as if they crap themselves. If they lost a throw-in. That kind of sums it up perfectly to me. If they lost a foul or something, or a ball gets taken off them, they seem to get into their shell. That needs fixed. That's the biggest thing that Danny Röhl or however you pronounce his name. I butchered that at first attempt. However, he's got to go about his job, and that's the first thing he's got to instill is a bit of confidence in his. I think he's quite a pragmatic coach. So, in all honesty, if we can get on a bit of a winning run, then aye, because looking at form and stuff in this league, nothing's out of the question to me, Ryan, because everybody else are so crap running about us, and I can't see Hearts just playing brilliant, they're playing out their skin, but I can't see it being a year-long thing. I think if they're going to do any damage or split the top two this season, it's going to be due to how bad we are rather than how good Hearts are, if that makes any sense. It's going to be a big improvement in Hearts and a big fall off for the old season or this season at some point.
So do you think there's if the guys that did the recruitment, if Andrew Cavan had said to Danny Röhl, you need to deliver the league for us this season, we know where we are at this moment in time, but our expectation is a league trophy. Is that putting too much pressure on him? Is that just being completely unrealistic? Where are you for that, mate?
I would say he needs to put a dent in it. I would say he needs to challenge. He needs to get closer than 13 points. He at least needs to overtake Hearts. I think that needs to be a bare minimum club and a lesser team than Rangers, consider budgets and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not meaning to look down my nose at anybody, but it's fact. So I think that if we can get these players playing and we can get a bit of confidence in this team, then I really do think it with the right kind of foundation set within the team and on the park, that we could possibly.
Thanks, mate. Stevie, I'll come to you in just one wee second, buddy, if that's okay, mate. Ross, I just wanted to ask you, mate, a lot of guys in the comments, there seems to be quite a lot of criticism all of a sudden coming to the comments for our defence, and people are saying that defence is where we need to strengthen. I think there are areas at this point in time, but the defence is something to see more service, and football's all about winning goals, and goals win games and stuff, win trophies. Are you in that kind of defence as well? Would your priority be for recruitment of defenders, or are you looking further up the park?
I think a left back. I mean, Dujon Sterling will be back soon. So look, it's not across the back. I think there's enough there. Look, Aaron's can do a job there in the SPF, in the league. For me, it's still, players like, you let go Dessers, which, whether you like him or not, guaranteed goals. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It is guaranteed goals. He's proven that multiple years, scoring over 25 goals. That's what he can do. And then I guess Igaman, who is now all of this, and it was a very quick close my laptop down when I saw that. But yeah, look, he's gotten rid of goals, he's gotten rid of ability, and he's brought in Yusuf Chimiti, who looks like a lump of wood. And then you've got Majowski, who had a couple of good seasons at Aberdeen, but has done nothing else anywhere else in his career. So I think there's probably goals there, but it's just more the point of view. Touching on what was said there by, I think it was yourself, Scotty, that said, there was good quality at the weekend. I thought there genuinely was, but there's going to be something of an overhang here from the Martin ball that seeps into a play, or do I pass? Those little critical moments. That's going to take a bit of time to try and change, if that's what the new style of football will dictate. And I think that these players are. It's hard to judge them so far based on what we've seen and what we've had. But there has been glimpses, and I think there was enough if we actually start believing in ourselves, getting the ball forward, and maybe starting to be a bit more humble in the recruitment market and saying, actually, do you know what, a Shankland, you shouldn't turn your nose up at. Someone that's a Connor Cody that's been around the block, yeah, but has quality, is not someone to turn your nose up at. Stop trying to think we need to be, total football Ajax, expansive football, tippy-tappy. I think we need to be a bit more humble about it and a bit more pragmatic. But it seems as though, from how Röhl conducted himself at Sheffield Wednesday, that he's got that in the locker, that he can knuckle down and say, look, we're playing against a tough team who are going to grind us down. We need to just be, a little bit more pragmatic and create these chances and keep fighting. So surely, I mean, maybe that's the cliffhanger that we leave it on, because I swear there will be way worse. It could well be way worse down the line, but let's see.
Yeah, I think that could all, just to reflect on what you're saying there, the knuckling down thing, and I think being at clubs like Bayern Munich and obviously managing the Germany talks, teams that will come in and sit against you, they'll have strategies and structures and formations that they'll know will break these things down. So I think that's something definitely positive, mate. Stevie, just to introduce you, mate, thanks for coming on, thanks for taking the time to pop in. I've asked everyone that's had the time to drop in just to give me your initial reaction and something, possibly give me 2 wishes, 2 expectations, or 2 actions, that Danny Röhl should take tomorrow morning when he walks into the training centre.
I think my initial reaction when I heard earlier was relief. Just the fact that it's actually done, and we've got a manager in place. Whatever choice he was, he's here, he's in the building, and he's going to start working tomorrow. So at least we can actually go for now. You can't blame him for the mess that's gone before. He's going to be part of it. He spoke to us last week, but he came back. He obviously wants to succeed. So he gets my full backing. Anybody that takes the Rangers job has got my full backing. That doesn't take away from the fact that we've got a lot of anger still for Thelwell, for Stewart, for the ownership, for the absolute mess they've made of this. But certainly I'm glad that he's there. I see a lot of negativity, so the fact that he's obviously aware of the negativity, and he's still coming. He still wants to do the job, so you need to give him a bit of credit for that. And let's see where he goes. For actions, just really working the players' fitness. I think at the weekend for 45 minutes, that's the most chances we've created. It looked a bit better, certainly going forward. Obviously, the second half tailed off because Dundee United came into the game, got physical, made it more difficult for Rangers, and they kind of fell away, as per Russell Martin's Rangers. So that he's got to work on. But I think a big part of that is mentality, as covered, and fitness. Players need to be fitter. I don't think Martin was training them, drilling them, doing anything like what a Rangers team needs. The mentality thing's going to take a long time to fix. That's not something that a manager can just wave a magic wand. But it's nice he's got a nice easy start. European game, Old Firm game the week on Sunday. Just ease himself into it. But these are opportunities. If this guy looks and think, had to go and run and get good results, beat Celtic, get to a cup final, maybe in the League Cup, there's still opportunities there. It could, by the end of the year, 2 months from now, gets a few results in the league, we could be looking at a completely different Rangers, because I think there is enough talent in that squad. So I'm forever the optimist. I'm hoping that he manages to turn it around pretty quickly. But Scotty was saying there about Hearts. Hearts have only got the league up to New Year. I can see them keeping going. But to me, I wouldn't even look at them. I would just look short-term Rangers, one game at a time. It's a cliche. But ultimately, we need to be consistent. We need to win games consistently. So let's go. Let's try and win on Thursday. Let's beat Kilmarnock. Go into the Old Firm game. Really try and get 3 or 4 wins on the bounce to start off with. And it's a really positive start for the guy.
Appreciate your input, mate. I think probably, for me, that it was abundantly obvious the second half there. One team at halftime had a manager and one team didn't have a manager at halftime. Jim Goodwin's just put in, he's identified probably about 4 or 5 players who are running the game, and he basically said, lay one on them, get physical. If you get physical, chances are they're going to the hole. If you see them lose 1 goal, they'll probably lose 2, and it happened. So I think that was just basically just management from Goodwin's point of view. So it's just where we are. Guys, we're going to think about wrapping up. We've got a wee bit of issues with StreamYard, so apologies to everyone who's watching, who's encountering any issues. It's something, unfortunately, it's out with their control. StreamYard is the background platform that we use to bring these pods to you across various different social media platforms. So apologies if you've experienced any kind of difficulty hearing and stuff like that, but it is something that's out with our control, and I appreciate you sticking with us. Doug, I'm just going to come to you first of all, just your final thoughts and where you think we've got to go, and is it very much a must-win game on Thursday for them?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's a must-win for us, but it's not necessarily a must-win for him, if that makes any sense. Obviously, we need to win that to get back into the swing of things and make Europe hopefully still a successful stint this year. But I'll not be blaming him if we don't come out of that game with something. Because obviously he's got 24 hours to work with the guy. So overall, my closing thoughts are just to really ask the fans to try and separate their feelings about Thelwell and Stewart from their feelings about Danny Röhl. I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people that are just being immediately negative about him simply because he's been appointed and he wasn't number one choice. Just because you're not the number one choice doesn't mean you're not a good choice. You can have multiple good choices. The whole recruitment scenario, how that's been run, the way we've got to this point, none of that is his fault. That is entirely down to the people that were running the recruitment. So let's kind of get behind him. Hopefully he can do his best. At the end of the day, that's what we're here to do as fans. Get behind them from the start. And then if it goes wrong, and if he's not doing what's right, then take him up on it. But, let's try not to get on his back immediately before he's had a chance to even do anything. I do think there's positives there. A lot of people have talked about fitness in the chat tonight. That is something he's known for as well, getting teams fit. So I do think we'll hopefully see that. I think we'll see a much more adaptable team, a team that will show a lot more. And as I say, hopefully he'll get more out of these players. So you've got players like Chermiti, Asgard that we've talked about that haven't shown their best so far. As a good coach, I'm hoping that he can help bring out the best out of them. Maybe Chermiti doesn't turn it out to be worth 8 million, but if he can at least be scoring goals, then that's something. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, my abiding and final thought is just let's give him a chance and let's get behind him and help him to get the best out of the team that you can.
Brilliant, thanks, mate. Scotty, come to you now, mate. Do you think he's actually going to take the team on Thursday? This is something that's just popped into my head there. Is he, we're not aware of a background team or anything like that. Do you think he's actually going to be the guy that's taking the team talks? Is he going to be the guy that's actually picking the team on Thursday?
It's exactly what I was saying last night, Ryan. We didn't know anything about Stevie Smith taking the team to Rangers. Stuck a Twitter start up all night. Not got a clue what the hell's happening. It's a mess from start to finish. We know we've got a manager now, good, but who's going to assist him on Thursday night? Is it just him? Is it just going to be him standing in the dugout with nobody? Know what I mean? Is this where we are as a club? Like, they need to come out and tell us this. Obviously, there's going to be a backroom team here of some sort, but right now, it's him in the dugout, maybe Kitman and whoever else that's been left over at the club, maybe Brian Gilmore and whoever else is. There's rumours about Stephen Davis and stuff coming in. God knows, we'll just need to wait and see. But I'm pretty much echoing what Doug says, except I don't think the supporters need to give him a chance. I think the attention's now turned onto Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, so I think Danny Röhl's got a free roll of dice, pardon the pun, to be honest with you. I think he's got a free hit at his job now because the heat is very much on the board and the two men running the club day to day. So I don't think he can do any wrong, to be honest with you. I don't think there's going to be calls for his head anytime soon if he doesn't get off to a good start or whatever. I think it's very much going to be, well, you appointed this guy, you need to go, rather than Danny Röhl that needs to go. So but let's just get behind the team and let's just hope we start winning football matches again.
Appreciate that, mate. Thanks. Dino, just your final thoughts, and if you could give me a wee early prediction for Thursday, how you foresee things going.
If we turn up like we did in the first half on Saturday, I think we'll come away with 3 points. That's new manager bounce, optimism there. Is it the way that we played? We create all those chances. I do think that we can get the 3 points on Thursday and have a right good start to his managerial career. And my final thoughts are kind of going back on what Stevie said there about winning the League Cup. Not that I'm saying that there's a comparison, but there's parallels to Danny Röhl coming in and to when Alex McLeish came in. I think the league was pretty much done, and did Alex McLeish not come in and win the League Cup and the Scottish Cup and then went on to win the treble the following season? I kind of think, like, I've resigned myself to the fact I don't think we'll win the league, but like Stevie just gave me a wee bit of optimism there in terms of the League Cup. So on that, I think, that's a good shout for him to come in and do. And as I say, there's parallels there because the league was pretty much done. McLeish comes in and he won the League Cup and the Scottish Cup, and pretty much took the same players as to what Advocate had. So yeah, that's what I'm going to leave on a optimistic and a positive note.
Brilliant. Stevie, just fairly come to yourself, mate. Your final thoughts and anything you want to leave if you've got the final say in the pod, mate.
I can echo exactly what the boys have said there. Just really get behind this guy, that there's nothing else for it. Ultimately, if you're already giving this guy abuse just because he's in the position and he's not your first pick, you're no different to any other opposition in Scotland. You're no use to this. So really get behind the guy. Make or break games coming up. We need to win. I hope Ibrox is rocking on Thursday. We can kind of turn on the European season. If we get 3 points on Thursday, we're right back in it. Get 3 points at the weekend. We'll close the gap at the top. It's a big ask, but we've got to be optimistic. We've got to try and go for it, because what else are you going to do? We're not walking away, are we?
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, we'll get finished up, guys. And just as I always say, guys, when there's a European away game coming up, that look out for each other when you're travelling away. Please make sure that everybody gets home safe and sound and take care of each other. And hopefully the boys will go out there and they'll give you something to cheer about there. And if you haven't, as I say, please like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please, nothing else apart from YouTube. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a wee like and subscribe. I don't know if Scotty's got just 2 wee seconds just to tell us where we hit. We're trying to get to 4,500. Scotty, where did we manage to land before we go? Can you hear me?
11 subs to go, mate.
11 subs to go. So there'll be people, I'm sure, that'll be watching this in playback that didn't manage to catch us live, guys. So 11 subs, please, to get us to 4,500. A good milestone for us. And hopefully Rangers will start doing the business as much as you guys are doing the business for us. All right. So take care, everyone. And remember, every night is a Rangers Drill night. Goodbye.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.